Sam Altman leaving AI, or is he or isn't he?
Elon Musk came up with the new Grok, a new AI.
How can we in Australia have impact on global platforms? All right, so this week in AI, welcome, Dror.
Hey Yash, it's a big week.
There's a lot going on. Why don't I start today with the big news? I guess Sam Altman leaving AI, or is he or isn't he? What do you think?
So, from the company who promised godlike AGI, artificial general intelligence, they provide human drama, like a Greek theater. Like we're shooting it on Wednesday morning, the 22nd. By the time this video comes out, there will be so much news that we will probably be behind. But what we know so far is that the board fired Sam Altman, the CEO, Friday afternoon. And over the weekend, there was a whole lot of the Twitterverse basically exploded with the news, and there's been every possible take in a broad spectrum of opinions. What we think happened is that what it seems to have happened is that the board has a mandate around talent, around humanity, safety related to AGI, and the for-profit has a for-profit motive. The only reasonable explanation of what happened is that there's been a schism between those two missions, which is scary if anyone who's concerned with AI safety. So there's been rumors that maybe the next version of the GPT is sentient. There's rumors that there's not enough safety. As what we know right now, there's a bit of a standoff with Microsoft offering Sam Altman and his co-founder Greg to work at Microsoft AI Lab, and about 90% of OpenAI staff threatening to the board that if they don't resign, they will go work for Microsoft. To the best of my knowledge, as of right now, there's still negotiation around that. And it looks like they are trying to make it to kind of roll back time and bring it all back. What do you think? Will be able to succeed, or will Microsoft end up having its own AI lab competing with OpenAI?
Well, I think it begs the question is, can OpenAI exist without Microsoft? And is this a sort of power move by Satya and Nadella in terms of one being able to kind of hire the guy straight off, and it shows that. But I also think they weren't consulted in this process, but they really, in essence, control OpenAI. And so the question will be is how can OpenAI go on without that support from Microsoft, and whether they sit in Microsoft or whether they come back. And obviously there's a clear desire for the staff. So that's definitely a thing.
Do you really think they stay controlled? Do you think Microsoft control OpenAI?
They have a big influence. I think there's definitely without that sort of funding, I still think, that they need that money continually. And, they still are burning through a lot of money from what I understand. So I think they're going to need, I don't know. I think they do. I think there is a clear link between what they're doing, but maybe Microsoft need them as well. And so I think that relationship is really, that's what's interesting, the influence. Let's see what the influence will be there. And I think the other big thing that came out, and there was a good discussion on LinkedIn with someone I know, Chris Yee, who's the author of Blitzscaling. He was writing an article with a professor from Stanford about board governance and what does that mean? Who's running, what, and did they do the right thing? Have they overstepped the mark? And so I think this is what will be interesting. And is it, to your point, a organization that's driven out of, trying to do good for humanity with AGI over commercial gains. And we don't know the full extent to why they made that decision. And this is the sort of dilemmas we're going to have with companies where are they doing the right thing or are they commercial gains? And this is just the very, very beginning of those sorts of discussions. It's obviously one of the big players in this space, but we're going to have this in many other businesses where are people doing the right thing by their organization, by humanity, and that governance part is going to play a big part of how we make our future companies as well, and the right and wrong things that are going to happen in that. And so long way to go. We're recording this at this point in time, and let's see where that goes. But my bet is they'll be reinstated in some form, because it seems like the desire of the company staff as well. But let's see what the role of the governance of the board is there. So what else has been happening, Dror? What else? What do you sort of want to discuss this week?
We haven't really talked about it, but a few weeks ago, Elon Musk came up with rolled out the new Grok, which is a new AI and chatbot. And it, like, if you've got already Bard and you've got by Google and you've got Microsoft, whatever they call their little chatbot, and you've got ChatGPT, which is so far technically the best, it's begs to ask the question, why do you need another, Grok? And the answer is that you can think platform envy, a big tech provider like Twitter, or basically like the ego of Mr. Musk, probably can't not be in the game. Also because this is a area of rapid innovation, and you kind of need to have a stake in the ground in that technology, so that you can imagine how you add artificial intelligence to a variety of products in the Musk enterprises and the various Musk enterprises. But I think the one thing that's interesting that's worth noting about Grok as opposed to other is that he has a really interesting access to a really interesting data source in real time, which is of course Twitter, or X. And the reason this is very interesting to have an AI that has access to real time Twitterverse is that you can start seeing that as a tool to counter misinformation. Yeah. And of course it can be also weaponized. Yeah. But if you've got a highly intelligent AI that's able to process tweets in real time, you can hope that it will be a tool to counter misinformation and allow you, broadly speaking, to reason with data on what's going on in human conversations on Twitter, which is interesting. I think if you take Musk to his word, and I do, that he wants to make X, or Twitter, he wants to make it like truth, more and more ever more truth. And right now it looks like it's going in the other direction, if we're honest. I think that's a really interesting technological development. It's too early right now. It's still just a tool in private, kind of in demonstration capabilities, and I'm not sure who's exactly using it for production. But time will tell. What's your take?
So my wife calls me a Muskette, so I obviously love a whole heap of the things that Elon Musk has done, and not always agreeing with what he says, but and actually, happy birthday to my wife. It's her birthday today, so I'm shooting this early in the morning.
Happy birthday.
Well, look, I love Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, so there's a whole reference to that in here, which is what actually got me into technology as well. Is I read the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy to kind of get through a computer game initially, and so I really love the book and the movie and all these things. So I love that part of it, and I think there's a sort of element of exactly that way of thinking in this. Look, it's a bit of fun for right now. So in terms of what they're doing, and there's some interesting debates between actually Sam Altman and Elon Musk around that about, well, you can just create a GPT the same as that. It's not really anything. So they had a bit of a banter. I don't know if it was, I guess serious, but I do think the longer term play of what exactly is what you're saying, and what they're trying to do is linking that data with a chat bot, and there's going to be some amazing things that can be done with that level of data, and helping us to understand what's going on. And that is one of our biggest challenges, is around, I guess, that deep fake, understanding what's happening a bit more. I think combining those data sets with a whole range of other data sets that they're going to have within the whole bunch of companies that are there is going to be super powerful. And so, I think this is going to go that way. And then the big play they're also going to have is payments within that. And you can sort of see that's always been talked about, X being a payment platform from the PayPal days. And so I think you're going to have these multiple things that are going to happen eventually within there, which is, the question will be, whether buying X will become a good or a bad thing, because, obviously they've paid a lot of money for that. Whether we look back in time and go, actually, that was a brilliant thing, or whether, as most people are thinking, it's way overpriced for what they pay. But this play may be, it's a data play as well. In buying that, I think there definitely is a view, having having all the interactions and being able to learn off that is really powerful. That data set. So yeah, let's see how that evolves. I think this is just the very beginning, and they're just throwing a hat in the ring. I think it's really just a bit of fun for now in terms of where it's going, but where they'll go will be interesting. It'll happen quickly.
This is a good segue to the other news we see in The Guardian today about how Australia is trying to force social media to crack down on emerging harm of AI deepfakes and hate speech. So is this another one of those headlines that doesn't really mean anything, or do you think this time there will be some change?
The question is, what can they do? So from here in Australia, look, I think that Australia is a bit behind in terms of what we're doing in this space. It's not really clear on where that is. So, look, I think they're going to try and do things. I think it fits in under some of the legislation that's there. I'd just be interesting to see what they can do. Because there's so many different things that are going on in the political space that this is going to become a real problem, along with the US elections and other things that are going on. So, I think they have that basic online safety expectations or BOEs. I don't know. I don't know whether how much this is going to be taken on, and whether they can even, if people don't listen to that, whether they'll shut things down. We've not seen anything like that here. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's good that they're talking about it, but I think we need to have more clear guidance on what's going to happen in here in this space.
So my take is that this is a positive development. It reminds me when I read first how the FDA was born, and it was born out of a book that, well, one of the things that led to the FDA, the Federal Drug Administration in the US, was the appalling state of butcheries in Chicago metropolitan area in the early 1900s, and how dirty it was and horrible. And it was crystallized an understanding that food safety, drug safety is an important part and it should be regulated. And up until then it wasn't regulated. So my point is that if we manage to regulate food, we should be able to manage to regulate technology and news and operating systems and algorithms that check validity of news items and their source and so forth. It's not now whether or not it's technically possible to. I think the answer is yes. It is technically possible, but it requires R&D, and this is good R&D. So I think that R&D in the direction of noticing what is a fake versus non-fake, hate speech, not hate speech, disinformation campaigns, and so forth. That's something that we need to do, and we need to create an incentive for the technology vendors to do that. And the incentive to do that is not a profit maximization incentive, because we already know that profit maximization leads down the track of doom scrolling and misinformation and rage baiting and so forth. So the role of government is to create the regulatory framework and the legal framework within which to align incentives of players such as people and companies.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good step in the right direction. Whether this particular headline is going to be the thing that will have a big effect, I think it's cumulative. I think there's a lot of that, and there's a growing and ongoing awareness about the importance of regulation in the age of AI. So I thumb up this headline, and I'm optimistic.
No, I think it's good. I think the question I really have is what can they do, and whether the big providers, because they're going to require people to consider how their recommender systems serve content. So they've been talking about how is it that people are going to be, what are they served, and how that is. And there's some serious things around here on how people are using AI chatbots, for example. And one of the things they talked about is child abusers using AI to create chatbots to contact victims. And so we're starting to see, and we're going to see this more. This is the challenge. There's lots of good things we can use this technology for, but there are equally people going to use this to do harmful things. And so it needs to be addressed. My biggest question is how the Australian government and how can we in Australia as well have impact on all of these global platforms and whether they're listened to at all. And so that's what I think will be interesting to see play out, is whether Australia, us in this little country on one side of the planet, what the impact the big providers will do, and whether they'll be forced to do it or whether they'll ignore it. So we'll see that play out. That's this week in AI. I'm looking forward to next week. I'm sure there'll be a lot of drama next week as well. But yeah, thanks, Dror. I'll catch up with you next week.
See you soon. Bye.